In the month of May, we had a lot of pretty sizable updates come into the game. We had Project Rebalance Skilling, Mage Training Arena changes, Project Rebalance Skilling Part 2, Project Rebalance Skilling Part 3, and we wrapped up the month with Project Rebalance Combat. Since the combat rebalance at the end of May, there's now been 2 game updates, but there haven't really been many changes to the game. And I guess making vids on the weekly updates is kind of one of the things I do now, but last week there weren't enough changes to make a full video on, and there's even less this week, and I almost wasn't even going to make a video, but I realized there actually is a decent amount of things to go over between this week's and last week's update, and a few other miscellaneous general stuff that's happened over the past couple weeks. So on the front page of the website, we'll go over today's update, which was June 12th, miscellaneous changes, and basically to see all the changes, you open this up, and here's all the changes of the week. The game has been very quiet lately. It's the quiet before the storm. And the quiet after the storm, too. And it's very normal for that to happen whenever we're just coming off of a big game update, or in this case, multiple game updates, or right before we're about to have a big game update. And in this case, it's kind of like the valley between 2 big game updates. So it makes sense that we have a very small game update, or 2 game updates in between. First thing we have, removed the magic strength bonus from the Blood Moon Tacits as originally intended. With the Project Rebalance Combat, they decreased the magic strength bonus from the occult and added magic strength bonus to a bunch of sets of armor. And I don't think they even mentioned Blood Moon Tacits in the news post. Let's check. Here's the list of things they added mage damage to after nerfing the occult. And Blood Moon armor is not on there. There's the Bloodbark armor and there's the Blue Moon armor, but I guess they just accidentally added that to the Blood Moon Tacits for some reason. And if I put on the Blood Moon Tacits, you'll see there's no magic damage bonus, or if I put on the rest of the set, no mage damage bonus. Poison Dynamite was added in November of 2022 as an item that allows skillers to damage NPCs without gaining combat experience. And in one of the recent game updates I went over, they changed it so that as long as you successfully pass an accuracy roll, you roll between 1 and your max hit rather than 0 and your max hit, with the 0 being replaced with the 1, so you have 2 chances to hit a 1. But anyways, I guess there's a bug with the Poison Dynamite where you could still hit a 0 even after passing the accuracy roll, and they fixed that. Oh, here, instead of showing this, if I scroll down to the actual part where it shows the changes, it's slightly more in-depth. Next we have mining gloves now work correctly in Miscellanea, so get the extra attempts on the same rock to get multiple ores, except on Miscellanea, you don't get ores. You don't get ores, you just get your favor up, but I think, I'm already at 100% favor, so I can't actually test it, but I trust Jagex on this one. They've done a lot of changes to Brimhaven agility recently. They have always sold Toadflax and Snapdragon, but it's always been unnoted, and now they will come noted if you buy them. The crane repairs at Piscarileas can now be done using oak, teak, or mahogany planks, as well as the standard variety. Before, I'm pretty sure you always had to use regular planks in order to repair them, but now you can use these various types. But if you do use them, you have to use all 3 of the same type. You can't mix and match them. No shot. That's 2 random events in a row, both being genies. What a great day today. It's gotta be a good sign. Okay, going back to the cranes though, there is an update. If we go to the wiki page for the cranes, and we scroll to the bottom where the updates are, in January of 2024, they removed current favor, and they increased the amount of crafting XP that you get from the cranes to 4 times the player's level. They added a construction requirement, as well as giving construction XP equal to 4 times your level, and they made them slightly faster. And then in February, they made a little change to it again, and now we got the update from today as well. And on YouTube, if you type OSRS cranes, you'll get a few videos on fixing cranes using alts. I guess that change about like working together maybe makes it better to use alts then. I haven't done the method myself or looked into it. Oh, if you look at this, it says 120k construction, 120k crafting XP per hour, but that's probably at max efficiency. I got a lot of oak planks from Kraken that I don't think I would ever have a use for anywhere I can think of at least, and now because of that change, there would be a pretty decent use for them if I ever did want to do that method. Or maybe with sailing, they would add more uses for planks, so I'd have another use for these oak planks. Or maybe they would even add redwood planks. Ooh, so many ideas. My main account that got 200 mil woodcutting, I never sold the redwood logs on, so if they ever added redwood planks to the game, I would be ready to crash the market. Just kidding. I don't know. I kind of have like a sentimental attachment to these. I don't know if I would actually sell them. The last thing on this week's update is combination runes are now properly prioritized for use. Try saying properly prioritized 10 times fast. I wonder what the proper prioritization is though. Do you think that means that it's going to use the combo runes first or the non-combo runes first? I'm going to guess I'm going to grab out runes for house teleport. So I'll grab an earth and an air rune and also a dust rune. I'm gonna guess it's gonna use the dust rune. Oh, it did. I swear I didn't try that before. I just tested it for the first time now. Because like the way this is worded could have implied that the proper prioritization is that they're not used first. You know what I mean? Maybe what I did, maybe it's always been that way. Maybe there's like a specific scenario where they weren't being properly prioritized, like maybe a rune pouch or maybe in like Guardians of the Rift, or I don't know what they're referring to here. Maybe it is just general use, but either way, it's still like a fun little thing to try out. I get curious about little things like that. Now let's go back to the last week's update and we'll go over the changes from that one. This one is Pride 2024. And we can open up the changelog. And the first part of the game update is that they added the 2024 Pride event, and you could speak to Kit north of Faldor to start the event. You're able to get the rewards from the previous Pride event either from Gilbert to west of Rock or Diango in Draenor, and I think even if you didn't do the events, you should still be able to get them. And you should have probably 2 to 3 more weeks, I would guess, to do the event if you haven't already done it and you want to. This game update was the first update after Project Rebalance combat, so naturally there were some things they had to change about the combat rebalance. The first thing, Flames of Zamorak no longer counts as a fire spell. Part of the combat rebalance was adding elemental weaknesses to monsters, and I originally thought it was only the main spells on the regular spellbook that got classed as elements, the main spells being Strike, Bolt, Blast, Wave, and Surge. Those were the only spells in the game that got the elements added, just those main spells on the regular spellbook. Except there was +1. It turns out they also added the fire element to Flames of Zamorak. That was the only other spell. Not even the other 2 god spells had elements added to them. It was literally just those main spells plus Flames of Zamorak had elements. And there's one very notable monster that had a fire weakness added to it, which is Zulrah. When you're fighting Zulrah with a mage and a range switch, especially on a lower level Iron Man where you're not going to have a T-bow or a shadow or probably not even a Bofa, mage is what you're going to be using the majority of the time, and getting mage upgrades is generally going to be the biggest DPS boost rather than making range upgrades. Needless to say, after this update, there's a 1-week period that a lot of people took advantage of by using Flames of Zamorak at Zulrah, which requires 60 magic along with the charge spell at 80 magic, do some faster Zulrah kills. It was much better than using a trident, and due to Zulrah's damage cap of 50, it was about on par with how the Shadow is at Zulrah. And as you can see, a lot of people on Reddit were not happy about Flames of Zamorak having its fire element removed, which is what you would expect, because by human nature, people subconsciously tend to look out for themselves first and pick the side of what's best for themselves. And of course, there's a lot more people that don't have a Shadow or don't have Zulrah completed, so it makes sense that the majority of people would be against nerfing Flames of Zamorak. But at the end of the day, Jagex has to balance what they think is best for the game. It was called Combat Rebalance after all, and I think by leaving the spell that way, it would have messed with the ability for them to add future spells and other updates while minimizing power creep. Now you should be all caught up on the Flames of Zamorak drama if you missed it. That's all I've got to say about that though. Next one, reduce the health of the Fremnik Warbanders in the Coliseum from 50 to 48. I've never done Coliseum, but from what I've tried to research right now, I think you were previously able to one-shot the melee Warbander with a Shadow and max mage gear, but after the combat rebalance, you'd also be required to use Augury and be boosted with the Heart. And to balance it out, now they reduced the health of not only the melee one, but all 3 of them by 2. Since they buffed the Elder Maul, it's better than the Dragon Warhammer in every single aspect in terms of DPS and special attack defense reduction, except for one thing, which is that the Elder Maul was not able to be used as a hammer. But that's now been changed, so the Elder Maul can now be used to get into the Bandos lair, and you could also use it to build or upgrade the chest in chambers. In the last game update video that I made, I was just talking about how I think that they might change this in the future, and sure enough, the very next week they did. Salarin the Twisted will now respect the new elemental scaling changes. Salarin is interesting because you could only damage him with strike spells, and it's not that he's weak to any specific type, but like it says in the news post, it's about the elemental scaling. He now respects the strike spell's damage scaling, meaning, for example, if you use Wind Strike, it's gonna do more than 2 damage now. They removed water weakness from the Revenant Pyrofiend to keep it in line, because I guess none of the other Revenants have weaknesses to any elements, and if you look at the wiki page for the Revenant Pyrofiends, you'll see they have no elemental weakness. They added 100% fire weakness to Espori, They added water weakness to superior worms and wormlings. They increased the fire weakness to spiritual creatures in Nexus Prison from 100 to 200%. A couple hot fixes they did. They fixed the Tome of Fire. I guess it wasn't working properly in Last Man Standing. And then the Soul Reaper Axe no longer periodically suffers from a lower max hit. Mage Thralls should now function as they did prior to last week's update. Last week's update being the combat rebalance that was last week at the time. After the combat rebalance update, apparently Mage Thralls, their attacks were counting as melee attacks. And that would mess people up when they were fighting Ulm, well, specifically solo Ulm. Another example down here is at Zulrah, because you can't hit Zulrah with melee, and because the Mage Thrall was counting as a melee hit, it wasn't registering any hits at Zulrah. But the news post says that Mage Thralls should be fixed now. And then in the other changes section, there's a few not too important things. The inventory icon for the Gilded Spear now matches the Worn Items model. The collection log for Scorpia now lists the Dragon Two-Hand Sword, because if we go to the wiki page for Scorpia, the Dragon Two-Hand was added to the drop table in February of 2024, and it was just with last week's update that they added the Dragon Two-Hand into the collection log page for Scorpia. And you can see it right here in the log. And for those of you that didn't know, things that are listed multiple times in the collection log because multiple monsters drop them, those same items track across every monster that drops them. Like for example, if we look at Volcano, I have 0 Volcano KC, but 15 Onyxes, because I got them from Zulrah. Zulrah drops them, but it appears as the same number everywhere in the log. The animation for adding tips to Dragon Bolts no longer stalls your movement, so you can run while you're fletching those. And one of the soldiers at the top of the Lizardman Canyon can now tell you your kill count without you actually having to go into the canyon. Now before, I think you'd have to go down into this area, and I think it was possible to still be attacked by the shamans, or maybe just the regular Lizardmen down there. But now with this resting soldier, you can right click, check the kill count. There's also an east side. Oh, it tells you there's people in there. Was that always there? I haven't killed shamans in the canyon. I've always gone to the Lizardman Temple. And that's it, at least for all the actual changes and updates that have been put into the game over the last 2 game updates. All in all, there really wasn't anything major that was changed, which is why the title of this video will probably be something about how quiet the game has been lately. But there have been some other blog posts on the website that weren't actual updates or changes to the game, but more so stuff that's like previewing things for the future, polls, stuff like that. And I want to go over that stuff too and keep you up to date with it. Let's start with this blog post from yesterday, Mobile User Interface Rework 2.0, Overview and Beta. So this is going to be a user interface rework for the mobile version of the game. And there's a lot of changes. There's a long list of changes if we keep on scrolling down that people are going to be able to try out on mobile. And they're going to collect feedback at the end, and then presumably, a lot of these plugins and features are going to be in the main game, well, the main mobile version of the game. The beta begins on June 13th, and it will last for 3 days. So you're going to have this weekend. As of the time this video going up, it's going to start tomorrow, and it'll just be going for the weekend for you to try out. The main changes you'll see: loadouts for hotkeys, side stones are turning to the left via an option, which is off by default, NPC highlights and edit ground items hotkeys added, so you can tell they're trying to like add RuneLite plugins into the mobile version of the game. Realignment of the visual elements to be aligned and tidier, so cleaning things up. Chat filters button removed and moved to the long tap button. How can you access the beta? They got all the instructions listed right here. The beta worlds, it sounds like it's going to be separate worlds, and you could either start as a fresh account, or you can bring your main save over into the beta world, and it's going to have like all the gear and stats and everything that your main has, but the progress will not transfer back over to the main game. This is simply going to be so that you can try out the new features of mobile that they want to add. And it looks like if you don't transfer your main account's file save over to the beta world, you'll just be starting fresh from Tutorial Island. But again, this is like all going to be deleted progress. It doesn't matter what you do in the beta world. This was the old layout on top, and the bottom one is going to be potentially the new layouts. They've got an example of the side stones here. You got the hotkeys here. I feel like all this stuff could almost be its own video by itself because it seems to be quite a lot. Yeah, there's a lot in here. So if you want to try out the mobile beta, you can try it out. Otherwise, I assume a lot of this stuff will probably end up in the main mobile version of the game sooner than later. Oh wait, this is cool. Hiding the minimap. You can hide that, and then vibrations. That's cool. Low, medium, high. And when I say that the last couple game updates have kind of been like the quiet before the storm, that's because there's 3 kind of like Jagex events / updates that are coming up in the very near future. The first one is starting, I think it's 2 days, right? Deadman All-Stars is going to be starting June 14th. It's going to be a week-long, invite-only Deadman mode special event that's going to have 30 OSRS content creators. They're split up into 6 teams of 5, and there's a whole draft already, so if you want to check out the videos, you can go to Solo Mission's channel. There's already been 2 videos talking about the event and doing the draft. And yeah, that is coming up very soon, starting on June 14th. Not even 2 days after I upload this video. The finale is going to be Saturday, June 22nd at 6 p.m. British time. Okay, that's the first out of 3 big update Jagex event things that are happening. The second thing, this is in order too, the second thing is going to be While Gothic Sleeps. This is a Grandmaster quest that is set to come out on July 10th. 2024. This blog post specifically is talking about the rewards that are going to be coming out with it, and I'm pretty sure all this stuff was pulled. I don't really like going over potential rewards until they're actually in the game, because a lot of the time the numbers can change, sometimes multiple times. More things get added, some things get scrapped, and we can never truly know for sure what's going to be added until the update comes out and the things are actually in the game. And I don't see a point to studying and memorizing all these numbers and buffs and effects when there's a decent chance they'll get changed if not removed. A good example of that is the ruinous prayers. I'm glad that I didn't spend weeks memorizing what all those prayers did, because they all got thrown out and they were just used in a league instead. I'm not saying you shouldn't care, of course. It is nice for Jagex to get feedback from people. I'm just saying why I personally prefer to not make a video based on speculation. When the quest comes out and the rewards are all in the game, maybe then I'll make a video discussing it and going over all the stats and the use cases. But for now, just know that there's 4 new weapons being proposed. 1, an upgrade to the Arclight. 2, a Demon Bane bow. 3, a Demon Bane staff for Arceus spells. And 4, newbie Dragon Claws that are better than a DDS, but worse than actual Dragon Claws. Again, While Gothic Sleeps is set for July 10th to come out. And the third big event that's going to be happening is Deadman Armageddon. I have personally never played a Deadman mode before, but I might for this one. You can see there's a lot of Q&As that they did at the top here, but if we scroll down a bit more, Deadman Armageddon is set to last from July 19th to August 3rd, which is about 2 weeks. I'm still on the edge of whether or not I'm going to play this, mainly because it is a PvP focused game mode and I am not a PvPer by any means. But the reason why I might want to is because there's some cool cosmetic rewards. There was a poll for the rewards and everything passed. It's going to be a lot of ornament kits. So Corrupted Armanel Godsword, Voidwaker, Volatile Nightmare Staff, Dark Bow, and then a Deadman-themed Imbued God Cape, a Deadman-themed POH rug, and a Deadman-themed home teleport animation. And on the blog post, they put some images, looks like mock-ups of the potential rewards. There's the cape and the rug. Oh, and then we got the teleport animation. Looks like you're drowning in a pool of blood. Where it says, being sucked into a breach of your very own and coming out unscathed. I think breaches are sort of like how the, the fragments or the relics were in Leagues. There's breaches in Deadman. All these rewards, by the way, are going to be tradable, but if you play an Iron Man, then you are going to have to earn them yourself. There's going to be a prize pool of money, but that does not concern me whatsoever. And then there's a whole point system, the points you can spend on the rewards, and the way that you earn points. I don't know if this is finalized, if the numbers are finalized, or the methods of earning points are finalized, but it says based on certain bosses that you kill, you get points, but after you get 75 kills of the same boss, you'll only receive 10% of the normal points, so it wants you to kind of spread around the game instead of camping one thing over and over. I think what people did last Deadman mode was they camped out Scorpia because the kills were super fast, but I don't think they'll be doing that this time. And besides for killing bosses, you'll also be able to get points from questing, skilling, clue scrolls, achievement diaries, combat achievements. Yeah, there's some more info about the breaches. I'm not sure if they've finalized the amount of points that is required to get the rewards, because I didn't see it anywhere on here, and even on the wiki page. This is all there is. There's not too much info, but there is still over a month before it comes out, so there's plenty of time to give us more information in the blog posts and whatnot. Yeah, there's so much info in this news post, and I will have all the news posts that I showed in this video. They will all be linked in the description with labels so you know which one is which. I was going back to look at the cosmetic rewards, and they were talking about how they do already have corrupted weaponry, or like the models for them in the game, because they have them in previous Deadman modes. And I looked at some of the corrupted weaponry that they have, and I was looking at the twisted bow. I want that, dude. I don't think that's gonna be a reward to get like an ornament kit for the twisted bow in the main game, but that would be so cool, dude. Obviously I'm biased because I have a twisted bow, but That'd be awesome to have. I mean, there's a chance maybe they will have it, because nothing's set in stone, right? Or maybe that's copium. There's a plugin called Fashionscape, and you could put on any armor in the game and it will appear locally to you, so you can see what things look like. And if you go type in corrupted, well, I could type like corrupted twisted bow. I'm gonna put that on myself because it looks cool and you can see how it looks. All right, to summarize, May was all about Project Rebalance with a lot of pretty big changes. The first half of June has been pretty quiet. We got the small fixes to the game, nothing too major. And right now, this first half of June has kind of been the quiet before the storm of events that we have coming up. Deadman Mode All-Stars is going to be from June 14th through June 22nd. While Gothic Sleeps is going to be released on July 10th. And Deadman Armageddon is supposed to be running from July 19th to August 3rd. And the last bit of important OSRS news is that an OSRS player actually went outside to experience the real world and posted a video on his second channel that's linked below in the video description. It's me, by the way. This is a plug for my IRL channel. I hung out with my group Iron Man teammate and we tried out IRL together, although I've got to say, the graphics were pretty bad. I hope after this video you feel more caught up to date with what's going on lately in the game, and this really helps myself to comprehend everything that's going on by reading everything out loud and going through it systematically, and I really hope this helped you too. Or at the very least, I hope it kept you entertained. But with all that said, thank you so much for watching and have a great day.